Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next tips and tricks series in the Juno tips and tricks series. We've got today OCR, tips and tricks OCR. Thank you for joining us. We hope that this is very beneficial to you and helpful to you. As we get started, we'd like to go ahead and put up our poll questions and find out some information about you. If you are a veteran of our webinars, you know we're going to ask you where you're from, what your job title is, and how you heard about this webinar. Please fill those out, but we also have some questions for our presenters that will definitely help them. We would like to know, first of all, do you own or currently use a Juno? Yes or no? Please rate your level of understanding of OCR. Are you a beginner, an intermediate, advanced, or a Jedi? Have you watched other videos in the Juno Tips and Tricks webinar series? Unboxing, menus, and camera are the three that have been previously shown before. Yes, no, or I'm not sure. So as you go through and answer those, we would appreciate it. Gives our presenters an idea of your level of knowledge. And as we do that, of course, there is 1.5 hours of ACV REP credit available to you today. We do have closed captioning. And so all of that is in place and ready to go. I did not check. I believe our handout is going to be up, if it's not already up, on our handouts page. Today's PowerPoint will be up if it's not already up on the Access Academy webinars page. If we need that link, we can put that out there for you, but that will go up there shortly if it's not already there. I haven't checked recently to see. Let's talk about our ACV REP situation. It's all now about the APH Hive. So if you don't have an account with the APH Hive, please make sure that you do create an account. You will need that to get your certificate. So go to aphhive.org and create that account if you haven't already done so. If you have an account, you'll go to aphhive.org/webinar. When you go there, you can sign in. You can add your opening and closing codes to the Access Webinar Certificates page. You need to do that within 30 days of today's event. That's extremely important that you get that done within 30 days in order to claim your certificate. You can go back and later on revalidate codes if you need to, or view all your certificates if there's any errors. You'll then go to the APH Hive dashboard to access your stored certificates. You'll scroll down to the My Webinar Certificates page to get those taken care of. And all the ones that you have recently will be there in that one place. So we'll turn it over to Betsy Ann here in just a moment to give you your opening code and go over the opening polls.
Thanks, Paul. The handout is not yet posted on our handouts page. I'll drop that link for you. It should be available hopefully by the end of the week. Thanks to the 75% of our audience who's taken the opening polls. I'm going to leave them open so you can continue to fill those out while I read out our early results. For the question, what's your job title? 58% said TVI, 33% said O&M instructor, 17% said AT specialist. We also have Braille transcribers, rehabilitation professionals, EOTs and EOT assistants, parents, and a few who mark themselves as other with us today. Great representation from across the United States, with some folks joining us from US territories and international locations. Thanks everybody for joining us. Emails are still working for the majority of you. And now on to our content specific questions. Do you own or currently use a Juno? 41% of our audience said yes, 59% of our audience said no. So a bit split there. Have you watched other videos in the Juno Tips and Tricks webinar series, such as unboxing, menus, and camera? 46% said yes, 50% said no, 4% said I'm not sure. So thanks everybody for joining. If this is their 4th video with us, if you missed the first 3, I will be dropping links to those on YouTube. I really recommend starting with unboxing and working your way through menus and camera. The goal of this webinar series is to onboard you to the Juno in a really streamlined way. So OCR is today, but I really advise watching unboxing menus and camera after this webinar. And finally, rate your understanding of OCR. That's our topic for today. 58% rated themselves beginner, 30% said intermediate, only 10% are advanced, and we have 1 Jedi in the room. So Jedi, feel free to stun us with your knowledge. Thanks you for taking that opening poll. I'm going to go ahead and end that. As Paul said, if you are taking this course for ACV REP credit, you need to listen in to your opening and closing codes, which you'll use to get your ACV REP certification on the Hive. Today's opening code is audio, AUDIO. Audio is your opening code today.
Thank you for joining us today for our 4th of our tips and tricks videos about Juno. Today, tips and tricks OCR. We thank you for joining us. Let's get our presenters introduced. Let's begin with Justine Taylor, who's the Low Vision Product Manager at APH. Along with her, Mike Wood, the Strategic Accounts Manager, Education for Vispero. They have handled the other 3 of these videos as well, so very familiar to you if you have seen any of them. Let's talk about our learning objectives for today. So we're going to learn to evaluate how to use Juno to capture an OCR text. We'll compare using Juno's OCR for a single page capture to capturing multiple pages of a document. We'll analyze how to navigate multi-page documents and discover how to save captured images using audio tags. And that will be very helpful. You just start seeing how those audio tags will help you know what you have and keep better track of them. Some challenges, perhaps some things that have been troublesome to you. You might have questions. You might want to know how you can scan or specifically what you can and cannot scan with the Juno, or have concerns about how to capture all necessary texts while scanning. You may wonder how to effectively use lighting to capture a good image and control glare. And it can be difficult to remember what you scanned when you go back to your files at a later time. And we'll see how audio tags are very helpful with that. To begin our discussion and demos today, let's turn it over to Mike.
Hey, thanks very much, Paul and Betsy Ann. Happy to be here again with Justine. So first and foremost, what is OCR? I still get asked that every once in a while when I'm in a presentation, and I make the assumption that everybody knows what OCR stands for. So it stands for Optical Character Recognition. So many devices do have this built in. There's not many handhelds like the size of the Juno, though, that offer this capability. So that is something that does kind of stand different, or makes the Juno stand out a little bit more, being able to offer that. This does offer full page OCR, so full page scanning capability. And then with that page of text, you can run the OCR engine and have it read it out loud to you. You can also capture multiple pages, and then built into the Juno is a way to navigate those pages. So if you scanned in a 10-page document and you wanted to go to page, you scanned it in at school, and then you went home. And when you open that document up, one thing again is that audio tag that Paul mentioned. So you might want to listen to the different audio tags of files that you saved throughout the day at school. You open up a 10-page document, you can easily navigate to page 5 and start off right where you left off in class. So it's really nice. So what are some tips for a successful, text recognition? This is key. So you want to make sure that you have adequate ambient lighting. Oftentimes, I'm using these things at conferences where there's horrible overhead glare lighting, whether it be, can lights or whatnot, Sometimes I know even in schools, if they've got fluorescent lighting, it can be difficult. So you want to make sure you have good ambient lighting, maybe be closer to a window with natural light, or even have like a desk lamp if you're in a really dark lit area, unlit area. The Juno does have lights built into it. You can toggle those lights on or off right from the screen. So it might help depending on what you're reading, if you want to have those on. And if they're giving you a little bit too much glare, you can shut them off. Another thing is when you're reading something like a magazine or scanning something from a magazine, you might find that that reflective surface is giving you these hotspots of glare. And there's some certain ways that you can, fix that by using lighting. And there's a tip coming up shortly in the next slide too. And then for small targets such as business cards or letters, you want to put it maybe on a clean, clear, white background or a light colored background to eliminate any interference from, say another sheet of paper. So if you were trying to scan in a business card, you're not going to put that business card on top of a magazine page and try and scan it in, because the speech engine is going to be looking at all the text on that magazine page when really you're trying to just focus on that business card. So put it on a nice, crisp, clean, white sheet of paper or on a flat background, flat color. So one tip that we wanted to share when you are reading something with glare. So I have 3 images on this slide right here, and it's a magazine, I guess, what is it, Maryland Square. So this was back in Easter time frame, it looks like, with the Easter eggs on it. So you'll notice that that picture's taken near a window, but you're getting some glare up on the top left-hand side of that magazine, right in the middle of it, really. In the middle picture, you'll notice that you're not getting as much glare on that. And the reason being is, the tip is on the right-hand side, that magazine is just being held up at a slight angle by putting it on a hardcover book. So the top, 2 or 3 inches of that magazine are resting on that book. So it's at a nice angle, which is cutting out that glare. So when you then go to scan that page, it's going to get rid of that glare and give you a crisper, cleaner scan. And your OCR is only going to be as good as your original. So many of you might be familiar on the call with, in school, you might have gotten something that was mimeographed, 1,000 times or photocopied, 10,000 times. And, the font starts to look kind of crummy, it's pixelated. So if you have a crummy original, you're going to have a crummy scan. So you want to have a good original. And on text recognition, some of the keys here are, again, putting the material flat on a desk or table and having, no clutter around it. You can hold the Juno flat with the screen up horizontally. About 8 inches over the page seems to be kind of the good spot where it's going to get the focus correct. When closed, if you have that reading stand closed in the Juno, for those of you that are familiar with the Juno, it does have, and I'm just going to hold mine up here for a second. It does have that built-in reading stand. And if you have that closed, you can then, the camera moves so that you could hold this horizontally over the material very nicely. You might even want to stand up and look down at the screen because it might be difficult to see what you're scanning if you're just holding it up above your eye level. Position your material so that it will fit within the frame of the Juno screen. If you're finding that you're scanning in an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, like a booklet or a handout from a teacher, you might want to hold the Juno, flip it sideways. Instead of holding it horizontally, flip it vertically, and then that will allow you to capture that entire sheet, 8.5 by 11, and the Juno software will automatically switch it. So if you're doing it portrait or landscape, it'll know which way to view it or read it when you go, to the OCR. Zoom out to maximize the amount of text that is captured. So if you're using it with the reading stand open and you're just sitting it on top of a document, zoom out as far as possible to get the most amount of text on the screen. Again, if you want to scan in an entire page of text, it's best to hold it above that page. Before pressing the capture button, sometimes you might notice that the text looks fuzzy or out of focus. If you want to make sure it's in focus, you can tap the screen and that'll force it to focus. And then you can visually look at the screen and see whether or not it's going to be a clear picture. And then you want to hold the Juno steady until you hear that click of the capture of the camera capture button, or excuse me, the sound. So it will make a clicking noise similar to an old school camera. Once you hear that, then you can move the Juno. There is a slight delay. So when you press the button, and you'll see that later when we show you a live demo, when you first press that camera button, it might take it a second before you hear that noise. And oftentimes you'll find that, just out of habit, you'll press the button and then you'll move the Juno thinking, oh, it's going to take it. Then you'll hear that capture shot and you'll realize I didn't wait long enough. So wait until you hear that noise and then you're good to go. We get asked a lot of the times, what will this recognize? Excuse me. So if you have something in English, Spanish, French, German, or Chinese, this will actually scan it and read it back to you. Now, it will not translate. Many people will ask, can it translate for you? It can't translate, but it can read. If something is in the native language and you set this up to scan it into Spanish, it will read it to you in Spanish with a Spanish voice and run the OCR perfectly fine for you. So those are the only languages available right now in the Juno, are English, Spanish, French, German, and Chinese. And there's a couple of different dialects, Taiwan, mainland, and Hong Kong simplified, and mainland simplified as well. So Justine, I'm going to toss this over to you actually for a snapshot.
All right. Okay, so where can you see me, or have I?
Yep, you're good. You're on the screen, and we've got the snapshot picture up there, which shows a great image of the Juno actually. So you get a nice visual of the Juno if you were looking at it from the front. You've got the screen in the middle there with some books, spines of books, and then all of the buttons, of course, around it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, so you can use the Juno to take a snapshot of an image. You just press that capture button, which is in the top right-hand corner of your buttons. And when you press that, like Mike said, you will hear a click, and that tells you that the Juno is taking a picture. And if you take a capture and it doesn't look clear, or there's glare or things like that, all you have to do is press the button again, and that will take you back to the live view, and you can take another capture. Or if you're just trying to take a quick snapshot of a label, it's a good way to use this feature if you're trying to, for example, take some pictures of some labels, which I will demo for you shortly. Just taking some pictures of some food labels and some cooking instructions. And then we'll go through how to save those and use an audio tag. But yeah, you can use this in many different ways with getting a capture with the Juno. You can do snapshot, you can do a single page capture or a multi-page capture. So we will demonstrate all of those for you today. And yeah, just some other examples like Mike was describing on the screen. There's a picture of the Juno. Like if you're using it in the library and you're taking a picture of the books on the bookshelf and you're looking for a specific title or a different category in the library, you can use your Juno to take a snapshot and look and see which category you're in for looking up different books. If you're in the grocery store and you need to see which aisle you're in to look for a certain food item, you can take a quick snapshot of the aisles that tell you what food is in that section, and you can take use it for snapshots at the grocery store to see the prices when you're shopping, to see price tags and sizes of clothing, and different ways. You can just use it around if you're out at a restaurant or like we talked about at the last webinar, using that camera with the different positions. You can use it to look at, you know, a menu board or many different things. And then you can take a quick snapshot, a quick capture, and then bring it closer to your eyes to be able to read it and zoom in and use your different color contrasts, or, you know, whatever you need after you've taken that capture. So
I like the aspect that you can save the files on there too, just because, you know, another use case that I've had people do is if they have a presentation or they scan something in that, you know, a speech that they have to do for a class, they can actually scan it in here and then recall it very easily from the files, and then actually do it right from the Juno if they need to increase the font size or anything like that. So
yes,
you know, it's kind of-
exactly.
yeah.
So then we'll talk about saving. So once you've taken that capture, you can, like I said, you can just go straight back to live view, or you can save it at that point. And you just tap the restore button to open your button bars, and you're going to press the save button. And like I said, I will kind of walk you through this. You'll see it several times during our demos. But if you tap the save button, and it's going to ask if you want to add another page. So that's where it comes in. If you want to just do a single capture, or if you want to add another page for multiple page capture. And then if you tap no, you can just say, no, I don't want to add a page. So I'm just going to take a single image here and save that. So then it'll save that one image once you hit OK to save, and then you'll hit yes to save the image, and then it's going to ask you, do you want to record an audio tag? And you can say yes or no, but we recommend that you do use the audio tags to kind of name your files on the Juno. The Juno will automatically save it with a long string of numbers. So it could get kind of confusing if you go back into your file manager and you're trying to find that, you know, that homework assignment that you did in class, and you haven't named it, and you'll have to go through and kind of open up several documents at that point to find it. So if you label it with an audio tag, it's going to be really quick and easy to kind of organize and find your files again. So we'll kind of show that to you as well, how that works. And we're going to have a whole nother webinar specifically on the file manager and how to save files to and from your Juno to the computer. So we'll do that one in the next series.
Yeah, and what I've found is that it will save it with like the first, so if you scan text, like earlier I scanned this document that says welcome to getting started, it saved the file as welcome to, and then that long string of numbers. So it gives you like that first word of the document. But again, that audio tag is great just because there's no questions. I mean, you then know exactly what you're getting.
Exactly.
To it. Yeah, it's a nice feature.
And then the next slide here just goes over those audio tags and what that screen looks like. Once you get to that menu, it's going to ask, do you want to record a name for the file? And you tap yes. And then let's see.
We get the next slide up just to show that screen, so that perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah,
so
this
that's
is
showing.
just what I was talking about before, how you're going to want to save an audio tag, and it's just your voice, and you can save, it's not just one word, you can do quite a bit of a long string of audio. to that file. And so the screen will come up and it'll just ask you, do you want to record? And you say yes, and then you'll hit the record button, and then you'll hit stop recording, and then you hit the play button to hear your recorded file name back to you, and you can hear what you saved it as, and you can re-record over it later, or when you go back into your files, you'll be able to find it easier.
Silly question, Justine. How is it your voice that you're recording?
Yes.
I'm just kidding. I know.
I mean, you can't.
So you just record your own voice. I was just kidding.
Yeah.
Check if you're following along.
Yeah. So I can do a quick demonstration of some of this for you now.
Great. I will stop sharing.
Yeah. And I can get my screen going here. Okay.
And while you're doing that, I'll just say to the crowd, definitely check out the prior videos, because obviously we didn't go over what all the buttons on the front of the Juno do. And we didn't talk much about the camera. We're not going to go over much about the camera in this. And so those prior webinars that Betsy Ann shared in the chat have a lot more information.
I can share those again for anybody who might have come in late or needs those links again. I'll be sharing 3 video links.
Oh, thanks, Betsy Ann. If they're like me, they're late. And so Justine, that was just showing Toy Story, I think it was, but it just cut out, so.
Okay, yeah, I just closed.
The Juno.
Yeah, I just closed the stand, so it takes it a minute to readjust. So like if I want to demonstrate how to do a snapshot of something. So let's say I've got some macaroni and cheese here with some instructions on how to, it's just a macaroni and cheese cup that you put in the microwave to make some instant mac and cheese. And like Mike was saying, if I wanted to take a picture of this, I wouldn't want to take it on top of my desk that's got books and things everywhere. You'd want to kind of find a blank background to kind of take your picture and get the best capture here. So let's say I want to make some mac and cheese and I need to read these instructions. So I want to take a quick capture of the text and then increase capture there. And now I just hear the click. So I know I've taken my picture and I can't really see that color very well. So I'm going to change my color contrast. Grayscale. And now I can read this. I can read this better. So now I can see I've got a picture of the cooking instructions, and you can see that you can remove the lid and the cheese mix, and then you're going to add the water to the fill line and then microwave on high for 3.5 minutes, and then stir in your cheese mix there. So it gives you a good way to take your capture. So I don't need that now. I know I can just pop this in the microwave for 3.5 minutes. So I'm just gonna hit my button and it says return to live view. Return to live view. So now I'm back with my camera ready to go for another capture. So that's one way. Let's say that, whoops, I just threw my mac and cheese. Let's say you want to go to your friend's house or grandma's house and make some brownies. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get the cooking directions for my brownie mix. So you could while, while you're there, take a capture and kind of read through it the same way we did before, or you could save this and as a single image and go back to it later when you're ready to start cooking. So we can just take a capture. And now I've got my cooking instructions here. And we could do the same thing. I can change my color. So my text isn't looking great. So I can just hit the capture button again.
Return to life.
And I can take another picture here. Make sure it's
Capture.
okay. So yeah, we got
Volume and speed cloud button bar. Scale.
So we got a little bit better of a picture here, but yeah, we can go ahead and see that, what we need is 1/4 cup of water, and we need 1/4 cup of vegetable oil and 1 egg. So I can just look at this, or I can save it, and I can go through and show you how to save.
Restore button.
So you hit your restore button and get your button bars up here.
Recognize text. Save.
And we're gonna save this, and it's gonna ask, do you want to add another page or just save this image? I just want to save it for later. So
Check once without a check. Next screen.
and it says it's
Okay.
saved, and then it's going to ask me, do you want to record your audio tag? And yes, I do.
Yes.
And then I can record
Record an audio tag.
brownie instructions.
Brownie instruction.
So I just recorded that for this file.
Preview.
So I know I can go back to it later, and I can look up and see, what is the pan size I need and the temperature and everything in the cooking time.
Close.
So
Restore.
if I want to get back to my file,
Brownie instruction.
so right here, I just heard my audio tag say brownie instructions, and I can open that up,
Brownie instruction. Open.
and I'm right back into the file I want to look at. So that's how easy you can just save and have your audio tag attached to that file to easily find it later.
Restore. Close.
Okay, so that's a little demo for now.
What time should we be open for the brownies?
I know, right? They look really good.
They do. Teasing.
All right, and we are ready for our first poll question.
All right, thanks, Betsy Ann. So our question is, what are some tips to optimize scanning and OCR? You can choose check the lighting conditions, hold the camera steady, zoom out to maximize the amount of text that is captured, tap the screen to focus on the page, or all of the above. Got to pick one of them. What are some tips to optimize scanning and OCR? Check the lighting conditions, hold the camera steady, zoom out to maximize the amount of text that is captured, tap the screen to focus on the page, or all of the above.
And while you're filling out that poll question, if you have any questions for Justine or Mike at this point in the webinar, please let us know. And if there's a link that you missed, I'd be happy to drop that back in the chat.
I always like this part because we get to see who is paying attention. And I think it was last month where I was the one that wasn't paying attention.
You were like, wait, what's the
Yeah, I was
correct
like,
answer?
Justine, what's the right answer here? What's going on? Yeah.
All right, well, you guys have been Johnny on the spot and answering this poll question. Some of you are filling that out in the poll, and some of you are using the chat. Both great options for letting us know you're paying attention, following along, and learning those important Juno skills. So for the question, what are some tips to optimize scanning in OCR? We tricked you on this one. We had multiple options, but you could only click one. Those options were check the lighting conditions, hold the camera steady, zoom out to maximize the amount of text that is captured, and tap the screen to focus on the page. All of these are correct responses. So thank you for clicking all of the above. I especially like Mike's trick with glossy images of just raising it slightly. That's a really important trick that I hadn't heard before. So thank you for that. And thanks to our audience for taking that poll. All right. We did have one question come in from Dorothy. How is this device different from the Ruby 10? I'm using this with the student and the devices seem very similar.
It's a great question, Dorothy. Do you want me to take that one, Justine?
Yes.
Sure. So the Ruby 10 is a larger screen. So the Ruby 10 has the 10-inch screen. The Ruby 10 does not have the rotating barrel camera. So the Juno is a little bit smaller screen, and it has that camera that will do a little bit of distance, close up and self-facing. The Ruby 10 doesn't do self-facing, but the Ruby 10 does have the fold-out arm to do full page, 8.5 by 11. So it's kind of gives you the power of the desktop video magnifier with that 10-inch size. So if you need to fill out documents, you can do so with the Juno, but the Ruby 10 does give you more space on the right-hand side. So they are very similar, manufactured by the same company. For, you know, the Juno, really, truly, I feel like the Juno was released before the Ruby 10, and it was a lot of the functionality that Justine and the folks at APH wanted in the Juno, then transferred over to the Ruby 10 when we released the Ruby 10. So yeah, great question, Dorothy. They are very similar. Yeah, and that fold-out arm is cool on that Ruby 10. She had said, thanks for answering. The fourth grader loves the arm. Yeah, it's great. It's a great product. And again, a lot of the functionality is the same. Like if you start drilling down into the menus with the audio tags and, you know, pressing and holding on a button to have it give you the hints, all of those things, which Justine has turned on those audio hints on hers. I heard that earlier. So I'm glad your student's enjoying that.
I think we are ready to move on back into the PowerPoints. Let me
Awesome.
up.
So Justine had kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. You know, when you do a single page capture, you can capture a single page and then have it instantly read back to you. So when you take the picture, you then have the options to just save it as a file or as an image, or you can actually then run the OCR and have it read back. You can tap the restore button to display the button bars. When we talk about the restore button is on the bottom left, and it's the arrows that are pointing either to the right or to the left. So those double arrows that are pointing to the right on the bottom left will open up your menu options. When they're pointing to the left, your menu's open and that hides them or, you know, takes them away. You can tap the recognize text button to scan the document. and that is on the right-hand side, the middle button. And then to listen to the text from the beginning, you'll tap the play button. So on the screen right now, the picture of the Juno actually shows you with the menu bar open. That bottom left shows you that restore button. The middle button shows you your audio functionality if you want to increase the volume, decrease the volume, or change the rate of speech. And then the top left is your menus. Over on the right, your top right is the X to close out. The middle one is your, would be your recognized text. Once it is recognized, that button then becomes your display button. How do you want that text when it's reading to you to display? Do you want it to read? And Justine, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have the exact view, which is the way that it looks on the page. So if Justine were to scan in that Toy Story book, it would have the picture of Woody, Buzz Lightyear, and the text. So it's going to look exactly the way it looks on that page in the book. You then have a teleprompter view, which is just going to be all the text like a teleprompter. Then you have the, I call it the ticker tape, but is that the proper terminology? It's kind of a one straight line of text. What do we call that usually?
Yep, it's ticker tape.
It is ticker tape. Okay, I
Yep.
want to make sure because sometimes or I make up names in my mind maybe.
Yeah.
So the ticker tape is like a stock ticker tape. It's just one
Yeah.
complete line of text. And then you have your zone view. And the zone view breaks it up where you might have different columns within a document, and it breaks it up and numbers those zones so you can easily go to it. And then the bottom
Exactly.
right-hand button is your save button.
Yep. And I'm gonna show, I'll show that again later on, how to do the different views of text when you capture it.
Awesome. Thanks, Justine.
Mhm.
And so that's when you're capturing a single page. So we'll flip to the next slide and we'll talk about multi-page capture. So multi-page capture, when you press the capture button to scan a page, what will then happen is if you hit that restore button to display the button bars, you'll hit the save button, which is the bottom right-hand side. When you hit that, it pops up, and what you see is on the screen now, after you do those steps, what you'll see is add another page or save image. So you're just going to tap on which one you want to do. Do you want to add another page, or do you want to just save that image as it is? If you hit add another page, it will actually then let you take a snapshot of that next page, and then you can just continuously add more if you wanted. And I'll show this live here in a second. So tapping next will return you to the live view, and then you start adding those other additional pages. And I like this because, you know, again, another great use is if you are going to the library to do research, and maybe it's a book that you can't take out of the library, or maybe you just don't want to carry that book, right? You've got the technology in your hand where you could then snap a couple pages of that book, save it to the Juno, and then also have the Juno read it out loud to you, where you could always go back to the Juno. And as I mentioned, you could view it as a ticker tape. You could view it as, you know, the teleprompter. And with that, you can change the font colors, you know, the contrast colors. You can change the size of the font. And another cool thing is if you're working with, you know, a younger student or somebody that maybe had a traumatic brain injury or stroke or something like that, where they're learning to read and the tracking, you could actually do the ticker tape and slow the speech down so that as it's reading it, it's, I call it the karaoke machine effect. You know, you've got the word highlighted as it's reading it, but it's great for tracking, and they're going to then be able to hear that word. So they're getting that bimodal input of the audio and the visual at the same time, which is great for kids learning to read, as well as adults that might be learning, or a second language even. So that is multi-page capture. The next slide's nice because it kind of gives you a visual of what's happening as far as, yeah, just a visual kind of flow chart, I guess I would say. So you're going to position the camera over the document so that that text fills that frame. And I'll show you this live in a couple seconds. Capture that first page, hit save, add another page, hit that arrow, capture all pages, recognize text, and then save the document. And then when you save that document, we can go back to what Justine had done and save that audio tag as well. So I can let me get my Juno here and I'll show you this live. So I'm going to switch off my camera and switch you over to my USB camera. And so right now, I have mine just in the reading stand looking at a magazine, which is actually the APH magazine for Getting Started, a guide for people new to vision loss. And so there is the text. Now I'm going to close my reading stand and it's going to take it a second to pop back up here because it does power off and then I hit power on. And so give it a second to pick that up. And you're getting that flickering because I do have a desk lamp on next to me here. And rid of that cable. And what ends up happening is, sorry, I hit the. So what you're going to do is hold this up over that. And I can then hit the snapshot button. And I was out of focus, sorry. There we go. I wasn't looking properly. So now I'm going to hit that snapshot button. And don't move it till you hear that camera shutter. So now I have this page there. Now I can decide, do I want to save this document or do I want to read it out loud? So you'll notice on the right-hand side, you have the X. In the middle button, that's going to read it out loud. That will run the OCR. The bottom right is what I want to hit. So I want to hit save. And it pops up and says, do you want to add another page or do you want to save the image? So I'm going to add another page. I'm going to flip that over to a new page, my book itself. Now I'm going to hit that arrow on the bottom right-hand side. And now I've got my second page here. So finding help a roadmap. So then what I'm going to do is hold that up. It's clear. Hit the capture button again. It took the image. And now I've got that image. I'm going to hit save again on the bottom right-hand side. Do I want to save the document? Yes or no? And I'm going to hit yes. File saved. Do I want to record an audio tag? So yes, I want to record an audio tag and I am going to hit yes. Now I get the big record button in the middle. When I tap that, excuse me, Getting Started, a guide for people new to vision loss. I then hit stop. Getting Started, a guide for people new to vision loss. So it then played that audio tag back to me, and then I can hit the return arrow on the bottom left-hand side, and it brings me back to my document. If I wanted to go to this document, if I wanted to run the OCR on it, what I'm going to do is actually hit that middle page there. That middle button there. And I just realized, I think I totally jumped ahead and missed the navigation of multiple page documents. So you're going to see it live here. So what this is doing is that zoning view. So you've got welcome to Getting Started with zone 2, 3, and then 5. So this allows me if I want to jump around. So if I want to go right to zone 7, I can click on it.
Reader's Digest Partners Foresight Foundation to Sum 0120.
So it will read that for me. And if I click on the left-hand side here, which is going to open up that restore my menus, this is telling me I'm on page 1 of 2. And what I can do from here is on the right-hand side, I can change that middle button is changing my views, again, going between the exact view, the zone view, and all of that. If I tap up on the page 1 of 2, which is in the middle, when I tap that, it allows me to go between page 1 or 2, and that gives you arrows. So you can go right to the beginning. If I had 10 pages, I could actually hit the top left and that would jump me right back to page 1, or I could go page by page through that document. And at any moment in time, if I hit play on the bottom, it'll start reading for me.
Diabetic glaucoma, cataracts.
And again, if I hit restore, I can then close out of this. And it will say delete last page, or do I want to exit? And for me right now, I'm going to exit. And I'm going to then hit the right-hand arrow to move ahead forward. And that's closing that document. And that just brings me back to my main page. Is that grandma there that you were bringing the brownies to? And then I'm back to my live view. So we can jump back to the slide and I can actually show, we do have a slide in there in navigation in multiple page documents. And I'm gonna stop that video.
Yes, I really like how easy it is to just get those multiple pages, and the navigation piece is really helpful. If you've got a 10-page article that you need to read and you're discussing it, after you've read it in class, and they say, we need to look at page 6, you can quickly just jump into that page navigation and quickly get to page 6, where everybody is in class. So you're on the right page and you can, see what the class is discussing. And it's easy just to really position the Juno when you're taking a multiple page. I like how you can navigate it either landscape or portrait, so you can switch and orient the Juno any way, top, bottom, vertical, horizontal, whatever way is the best way to get that best capture. You can maneuver the Juno so you don't have to maneuver your object or your text as much, which is really nice. And it automatically, when you hit recognize text, it's going to process that OCR and automatically orient it into the right direction, which is really nice, I find. So.
And it's pretty fast at recognizing that text as well, which is nice. And you made a great point with something for class, and we're going to go over this in the next webinar that we do, but you can actually import documents into this. So if you have a PDF file that your teacher might have given you, in advance, or it's available online for your class, you can import that PDF and have it stored in the Juno. And then I guess that middle bar there, the page box, is giving me the view of like what's the one, not The Price is Right, with the Wheel of Fortune. Not Wheel of Fortune. What's the big one? Yeah, The Price is Right. Where you've got the big thing where you got to hit $1. So it's just going to scroll you through the pages.
Yes.
And you can just go right to page 6, like Justine said, or you've got those arrows. So the arrow with the line to the left brings you right at the beginning of the document. And then the arrows that have nothing to the left or right of them are just going to be previous page or next page. And then if you want to go to the last page, it's the arrow with the box around it, and that will move you out to the furthest location that you've previously viewed, or bring you back to the furthest location that you've previously viewed, I should say.
Yeah, and if you're not sure what the buttons are, we talked about this in our menus webinar, but just to reiterate that you can tap on any of these icons, any of these buttons, and Juno is going to tell you what that function is, and then you tap it again to select that function. So you're almost having to do sort of a double tap. So you might have noticed when we hit the play button, it said, or stop button, or whatever, it'll say it first, and then you have to press it again to make it do that function, because it's reading to you what's on the screen, which is really helpful for me, particularly to, I may struggle to see where the play button is exactly, so I can kind of find it first and know, okay, I'm on the play, so I hit that button to make it play or pause, or so it'll tell you if you're not sure, like, what does this arrow do? You just tap it and it'll tell you what it does. So it's really helpful.
And I like that because I think it's great for first-time users when you're first training them on it. So, and again, you can't mess anything up, because once you press the button, if it's not that button that you want, just go and press the next button and it will tell you what that button does. And then once you hit it the second time, it activates. I have that off on mine just
Yeah.
because,
You
so you
don't
didn't
need
hear it on mine, but what'd you say?
You don't need it. So
I
you
can,
can turn that on or off. Yeah. If it drives you crazy and it's constantly talking too much, you can turn that off. Yeah.
exactly. But it's a great feature to have built in there.
Mm.
So I did jump ahead, and I skipped this slide. So this is an important slide, and I already did the demo of navigating multiple pages and scanning in multiple pages. So we can go to the poll question, which is up next.
Great, let's do that.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, you're
All
welcome.
right, so let's see if folks were following along here. What's the key difference between single page capture and multi-page capture? Choose one. Is it setting up the environment for a successful capture, adding a page, recognizing text, or saving? So what's the key difference between single page capture and multi-page capture? Is it setting up the environment for a successful capture, adding a page, recognizing text, or saving?
There we go. Hey all, can you hear me? I'm afraid my internet is coming in and out. So I apologize for that, but the poll has now officially been launched. And we do have a question that came in. After you scan, will the scan document pick up things like different formatting? I mean, things like bold, italics, and underline. Is there a way to hear that as well, like you would with JAWS?
So the answer is no. It will pick it up and show you visually, of course, because it would be the exact view, but it's not going to give you different, audio. I know inside of JAWS, you can set it up to describe the text to you. This will not do that for you. So what you would have to do is view it in the exact view, maybe enlarge it enough that you can see it. And, and then you would see visually that it's italic or underlined, and it would just read the text. So no, it won't do what you're asking, unfortunately. And also said this can scan many pages at once. So you could scan multiple pages and then do the OCR. So I had just scanned 2 pages and then I ran the OCR on it. But if you wanted to scan, 20 pages and then either save it or run the OCR, you can do that.
All right. And we'll talk more about the Juno and the price options for both quota and non-quota at the end of today's webinar, but you've got that in the chat along with the link to the Juno product page on aph.org. As for the question, what's the key difference between single page capture and multi-page capture? This was a single choice and we gave you 4 options: setting up the environment for successful capture, adding a page, recognizing text, and saving. The largest at 76% was adding a page, then saving at 16%, and finally setting up the environment at 8%. No one chose recognizing text. So Mike and Justine, which of these answers is correct?
It is adding another page. So good job.
I was going to say, I'm going with the largest, if I were on a game show, I'd be going with the 76%ers there.
Yes.
Adding page. Yep.
You just simply add another page if you want to do a multiple page document. And if you don't, you just hit save image and you'll just get that single capture.
Right. If we go back to the flow chart, those of you who click save, you are correct. You would save your first image, but the real important point is the adding another page. That's for the multi-page capture. So great job, everyone.
Very good.
Hey, Mike, I had just a question just coming to my mind because maybe you went over it. I'm not sure. Do you have to save and then do the OCR on a big document, or can you OCR it and then save it, or does it not make any difference?
You can do it either way.
Yes, I was playing it through in my head. Yeah, you can do it either way and it won't make a difference. Yep.
Yeah, you don't have to save it first or recognize the text first. You can either way will work.
Yeah, so you could run the OCR and have it read it to you and then not save that
Immediately.
file. And
Yeah,
you know,
yep.
if it's something you don't want to store on the device.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're reading your mail or something and you don't want to, save that piece of mail and have to go back and recognize the text, you can just instantly capture and then hit the recognize text button and it'll start reading to you right away. And then you
Yeah.
can decide if you want to save it or not. Yeah. All right. I think the next slide here is some examples of how you can use Juno for instruction. We talked about reading documents and books in class and using the different reading views like zones where you can quickly jump to a specific section in your book or article. And then you can use it for distance viewing. We touched on this in our last webinar where we talked about the camera and how you can use the Juno's rotating camera for different reading positions, for near reading, distance viewing. We looked at examples of how you can use Juno to look at like a whiteboard in the classroom and copy down some homework assignments or math problems. And you can use Juno's distance view camera position to read the board. You can use it for quick handwriting tasks and hobbies. And it has the self view, so you can rotate your Juno's camera to be self-facing, and you can, do some grooming or, check your face after you eat lunch and make sure you don't have food in your teeth before you go to a meeting or, class. And you can put on makeup and different things. We went over on how to do the self view with Juno. And then just saving, you can save your assignments or homework and go back and look at later. So those are just some ways you can use Juno. And the OCR is a really big key feature and is nice for people with eye fatigue that have long documents that they need to read, and they can just have it read aloud to them. So I'm gonna do another quick demo here and show you those different reading views again, so you can see the zones. So
And I think that's going to answer some of the questions I saw that popped in the chat, Justine. So, excuse me, Dorinda asked, saying that having trouble manipulating the capture that I made of a full page, it looks different from what it looked like when I captured it. So Dorinda, I think this is the section, this might be what's going on with yours, as well as Nancy. We are practicing, which I'm glad you're going along practicing live. The captured picture does not display as taken from the camera. And this is where you're gonna, so what Justine's about to show, I think will help you. And while you're setting that up, is that all right, Betsy Ann, if I take the next question while Justine's setting up?
Absolutely, especially looks like we've got a question about how to turn on and off the button description.
Sure, and I can show that after Justine goes, or Justine can show that if she's comfortable, or I can do it next after this to show you how to turn on the audio description for that menu or for the buttons.
Great.
So we can do that, one of us can. And then, excuse me,
yes.
How do you change the name of your saved file?
Okay, yeah.
That's going to be next. Is that the next webinar we're doing? Because that currently shows as the file and then this long number underneath it.
Yeah.
Don't be sorry, Dorothy, at all. Don't apologize for asking the question because we haven't really covered that. I think that's something in the next webinar that we'll do because that's something that you can do from the computer side before you transfer the file or once it's on there and you connect the Juno to the computer. that's where those audio files or audio tags come into play to help you know what the file is. So instead of relying on the file name, you'd be relying on that audio tag.
Yeah, that is something. Oops, I don't know why my Juno's screen is.
We just had it,
Yeah, it was just showing up a second ago.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
That's weird. It was just showing.
Maybe unplug. Oh, there you
Oh.
go. You're up now.
Oh, okay.
got it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to show this before it messes up again. So, I've just got just a storybook here, with a little, a story about Toy Story here. And I'm just kind of switching my Juno to portrait mode so I can fit all of the text in the screen here. And I'm just going to take a capture. I think it looks good.
Capture.
So now I can hit
Recognize text.
recognize text. It's processing, and it's going to process this OCR into those zones. So it goes straight into doing the different zones.
And Dorinda and Nancy, this is probably the part where if you scan this in like this, it should show like this at first, and then Justine will go into the other stuff.
Yeah, so this is the first way it processes the text. And we can hit the number 1 to look at the title, and it's going to jump right into that teleprompter mode.
Dino scare. A failed Jurassic carnivore. Grown Rex the dinosaur. I'm just not scary. Woody. Now, said Woody soothingly. Remember what's really important here. The thing is that Auntie this with you, and you'll all be happy about that. He like house reading.
So this is the teleprompter view, and you
Increase
can
text side.
And is that because you have that as your preferred method? So if I were to like in an exact view, would it default to exact view, Justine?
Yeah, that's
Right. I think it goes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Because yours just goes right into the reading from the exact view. Yeah, so you can
Exactly.
choose how you like to have it show up. And I like this what was it called? The
Teleprompter.
yeah, the
And it's nice.
teleprompter.
Yeah, and
Thank
it's
you.
nice because you've got, as you showed, you can increase that font size. And I mean, it's a clearer, crisper text than the exact view, I feel like. But, it's nice to be able to toggle. So this is
Restore
where,
button.
So if you want to change what it looks like, the different view,
Change to ticker tape mode.
the button in the middle on the right of the button bars it tells you what view you're going to switch to.
Change to ticker tape mode.
So this is going to be the ticker tape where you're just one line at a time.
Read document. Like that new guy. Said Woody. Starting a K over at Andy's newest. Buzz Lightyear. Pause reading. Lightyear.
Okay, I'm gonna go to my files because I don't think I got the best capture. My lighting is not great right now. I did do, like Mike suggested, I had the book kind of tilted at an angle, which helps, but I just have the light coming through the window, and it's not it's kind of shaded right now. So
Restore.
I took a
just
picture
to let the people
earlier.
know. So when you wanted to get the menu, you clicked on that restore button, which were those 2 arrows on the bottom left.
Exactly. That's how you get
Yep.
to all your menus, is that restore button.
Open.
And this is my file manager.
Brownie instruction.
Okay, that's where we got the brownies. This is the one I took earlier.
Open file.
So you can see my lighting was a lot better earlier today. So
Dino scare. A failed as a carnivore. Grown Rexy dinosaur. I'm just not scary, Woody. Now, said Woody soothingly. Remember what's really important here. The main thing is that Andy plays with you, and you should be happy about that. Not like that new guy, scoffed Woody, darting a look over at Andy's newest toy, Buzz Lightyear. He doesn't even realize he's a toy. Red alert, red alert. Andy, coming, shouted Starka, the Green Army man. Andy was reading.
okay, so that just gives you a good kind of demonstration of the OCR and how it reads, and how the lighting is really important to get a good capture, and the different views you can read this in.
Change to take a
You've got the one line at a time,
change to zone.
and then you're back to your zones.
Change to image mode.
And then this is the, like Mike was saying, his is in the live image mode. So you can select how it will read.
Change to teleprompter.
So I'm wondering, Nancy and Dorinda, did that fix what you were running into? I know you were mentioning that it was different.
And then they wanted to see how to change the menus.
Turn on the, to turn on the speech for the menus. Someone had asked.
Okay, and then they asked something about the files. So let me get you back to your main menu here. And I did that. Like I was in my document here, and I just hit restore.
Restore button.
The arrows in the bottom left, and then at the top right, where you have the little vertical lines, is your main menu. Okay, and then you're going to go to settings. So you get 4 icons here, and you've got your file.
Open file manager.
You got your file folder, which is your file manager, your brightness,
Change screen brightness.
your
About this device.
information about the device, and then
Open settings.
settings is that bottom right corner of that square.
Open settings.
And then you're going to go to menu settings. So you're wanting to turn off the spoken menus. So you go to the settings and menus.
Settings.
So again, you have 4 options here, and you're like Mike was saying, initially when you're learning the device, it might help to have the spoken menus on, but once you've used it for a while and you know where things are, you may not need it as much, so you can turn it off. But just to give you an idea, you've got reading settings, and then user settings below that, and then on the right you have menu settings, and then the bottom right of that square is your system settings. So we're going to go to menu settings, and then we want to turn off the spoken menus. That's that little speech bubble.
Talking menu.
So the talking menu. You also can change your color theme of your menu here too, which is that circle below that speech bubble. And then I can't.
Device voice.
That's how you can change your device voice. So your menus can have a different voice than your reading settings. So when you're reading, you can change your voice that's read to you.
That's
when
the
you're
top
OCR.
right. That's the top right-hand button, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's your reading voice. And then the text is the bottom right corner with the big T, is how you can change your text size. So we're going to go to that talking menus, which is the top left corner.
Talking.
And right here, you get a slider switch and you can turn that.
Talking menus toggle switch currently set to on.
So I just tapped that and it told me it's on, so I can switch it to
Talking
off. So now when I touch the screen, nothing's talking and you don't have to double tap things. You can just tap right on it and go right along without the menus talking. So that's how you turn that off. I'm going to
Thanks
turn
for
mine
showing
on.
that, Justine.
previous screen.
Yeah.
Preview.
And then
Preview.
we got to go all the way back to our main menu, and then we go to our files.
File menu.
And this is where I have a bunch of files on here. You can see how many files. And we will specifically dive deeper into this topic for our next webinar. And we'll talk about all the different file types and how to transfer files. But you can see like some of these have file names saved to them from the computer. And some of them have, like the ones we just did today, are audio tagged. So initially, you'll probably want to audio tag them because that's specific to the Juno. So your audio tags won't get transferred to the computer. But if you name a file from the computer and save it onto Juno, that file name will show up. Like I've got one.
PDF file the hungry caterpillar.
So I've got a PDF file here, the hungry caterpillar. So that one's one that I brought over from my computer, and it's a file named from the computer. But like today we did the brownies. So I can go back later and cook my brownies because I've got my instructions saved here. And I know that because I added an audio tag to that file. So it's helpful for later on too, if you want to send it along to your teacher from, once you get home, do your homework, you've, saved your audio tag, you found your homework assignment. And then if you want to, send that back, you can, find it from the audio tag and then send it to your computer and email that on. And you can save the file name from your computer. So like I said, we'll go into that more detail at the next one.
Previous screen.
So we're back to our story here. Does anyone have any more questions or things that you want to see?
We had someone that asked, Ashley said, "Hello, I'm glad that this has the ability of speech to read your scanned documents. Is this speech ability several voices? Do you have a male and female voice? I hear that in the demo you're making, or you're using a female voice. It's a good speech rate that you're showing us. Is there a way to speed it up?" So there's a couple questions in there. The first one is, are there multiple voices, Justine?
Yeah, so let me show you, because we're in our story here. Let me show you how to change speech rate, and volume is really quick and easy to get to straight from your menu bars.
Restore button.
So I open up my menu bars and we've got the middle left button
Volume.
is your volume and speech rate. So right there, you can see I've got my volume on max here, so you can hear through my speakers, the OCR talk. Oops.
Volume and speed.
So we've got
Mute.
the mute button there. You've got, so you can see that you're adjusting your volume, and then speech rate, you've got like a little turtle or hare. So
Slide up to increase speech rate.
so I have my little spoken menus on, so it tells me if I slide this bar up, it's gonna increase the speech rate, and if I go down, it's
Volume
gonna
and speed.
slow it down.
Juno's new speech rate is set. Juno's new speech rate is set.
So you can
Juno's new speech rate is set.
So you can adjust that slider switch up and down to go faster or slower speech.
Juno's new speed race.
So if we hit play, you can hear it really play fast.
Windows there. Failed recipe card before. Very. Now. Remember what?
So some people like to read that fast. So you can definitely adjust that. I'm gonna slow mine down.
Juno's new speed race.
And it's nice that you can customize that. I do like that. And
Yeah, it's
High volume and
it's quick and easy to get to right there from that, just open up the menu, middle button on the left.
what's really important here.
oops, sorry. Yeah, straight from your
High
book that you're reading, you can change that really quickly. You don't have to jump into multiple menu screens. Now, if you want to change the voice, like you got to go to your main menu, which is at top left. And then we're going to go to settings. And then you're going to go to reading settings.
reading settings.
Okay. And then what?
Reading language.
Oh, that's how you do your languages. And then
Viewing mode settings.
the left side is your
Viewing mode settings.
oh, that's the viewing mode settings. So this is how you
Use ticker tape mode. Use underline highlight.
this is how you can adjust which view defaults you want. So you can have it underlined or boxed,
Use
or
use ticker tape.
you can choose which view you want.
Use image mode.
So that's the one Mike is in image mode.
Use
Mine's in teleprompter.
preview.
So now I've messed up. I'm
Preview.
running.
Reading settings. Menu settings.
We're trying to go to the different
Yeah, the voice of.
voices.
Yeah.
Oh,
User settings.
it's in user settings.
I was going to say, I think it is user settings and then
Is it? Where
was
is
it
it?
system settings. I always forget.
We need to go back to our menus webinar.
English.
Oh, no, you know what? You were correct. You were going the right way. So
Oh,
go
it's
to reading
oh, yeah,
settings,
I gotta remember
reading
this,
settings,
yeah.
and then you have to choose the language.
settings.
So, yeah, choose the language on the right-hand side.
Preview.
So you go to reading settings and then the right-hand side. So you'll pick English. And then when you hit English, hit the arrow in the bottom right,
Okay,
Next screen.
and then it gives you your option. So you've got,
thank you. Yeah, I
yeah,
got.
you're welcome. I
got
forgot
lost
that too for a
myself.
second. You've got English, so you have male, female, and then really truly it's, if you want to switch it around and do different accents.
This is
you
the
can do
voice
that
named
as well.
Tom.
You've got Tom and what is it, Ava for US, and then you've got all your Australia, British, all your accent.
This is the voice named Serena.
So you can listen to the British accent if you
Exactly.
and then the Australian.
This is the voice named Lee. This is the voice named Karen.
Yeah, so you've got your male and female options. So let's switch it to Tom there.
And then Kim
Next
said,
screen.
mine's set to tap once to hear the selection in the menu and again to select it. That's because you have on that audio, have on the speech settings for the menu to
Spoken
read, Kim.
menus. Yeah,
If you shut that off, then it would just be a single tap to select stuff. But when you have the audio, the menu audio on, you have to tap twice.
exactly.
You're welcome, Kim.
Preview. Preview.
I'm glad. Great questions today too. We've had some really good questions.
Yeah.
And it's been good.
Read
So
document.
we've got about 6 minutes left, Justine. I'm not sure how many more slides we had to go through.
We've
Or-
got just a few, but we do have those ending poll questions that I'd like to get to. So
Yeah.
let's go back to the PowerPoint, and while folks are doing the ending poll questions,
Pause reading.
we can
Oh.
answer
Here.
any
The main thing is
remaining
that
questions.
Sorry, Tom was
Oh, you're fine.
reading.
You're okay.
We can
All
yeah, we
right.
can switch back.
Yeah, let's go to the ending polls then.
Yeah.
So there's several here. So we want to know, how often do you or your students, clients use OCR on the Juno? Your choices are at least once a week, once a month, or not at all. Is there a skills performance checklist available to monitor student progress? Yes, no, or I don't know. Would a basic magnifier mode and advanced mode make Juno easier to use to separate simple features from more complex ones? Yes, this would help. No, I wouldn't use it, or I'm not sure. So those are all questions that would help in future software development, and the checklist one is once just to see if you're aware of some of these things, but we're always looking for new features and new ideas for features. So those are very helpful to us. I suppose now we can go ahead and look at our discoveries as you're filling out this poll.
Yes.
So the Juno is great at scanning printed materials such as newspapers, magazines, and textbooks. OCR can benefit those that experience eye fatigue during the day, or really anybody. I mean, it's nice to have a document and just scan it and have the text right there. Juno has built-in lighting that can be turned on and off depending on your need and the ambient lighting. And you can scan a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Audio tags make it easy to find documents you previously scanned. If you're not going to be transferring these to the computer, the best way to keep track of them on the Juno is through those audio tags. Do you want to check on the poll before we go through the pricing, or answer any other questions before we do that?
Yes, let's go to the poll. We had 3 questions for you. For the first question, how often do you or your students or clients use OCR on the Juno? The majority at 64% said not at all, but hopefully this webinar has really shown you the benefits of using OCR, and especially the benefits of Juno being one of the only devices on the market that is as small and compact as Juno is, with this very powerful feature. Is there a skills performance checklist available to monitor student progress? 17% said yes, 17% said no, and 67% say, I don't know. Well, Justine, what's the answer to the question?
Yes, there is a checklist that you can download from the product page, and I'm sure we can get the link.
I can
put
share
in the
that
chat
right now.
Yeah, and it's just right on the product page for Juno on our website, and you can go to the downloads section, and right there you'll find the checklist, and it's a way that you can do like a skills monitoring for your student or client that you're training to use the device. You can go through it step by step and monitor the progress, and it shows all the features and everything that we're going through all of these webinars to show it's all right in this document. Yeah, right there it is. You can see like we were talking about how to do all the capturing, the multi-page, all of that is listed, and you can go through it step by step with your student and say, this is the date and time that they mastered that skill, or we're still working on it, or we're introducing these skills. So it gives you a really good documentation to use for training.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for putting that together, Justine, because that's really helpful, I think.
Absolutely. So if you're familiar with the Mac Connect skills checklist, it is based off of that. So you'll be able to record dates and times and what their level of usage is for your student. For the last question, would a basic magnifier mode and advanced mode make Juno easier to use? 59% said yes, this would help. 11% say no, I wouldn't use it, and 30% say I'm not sure. So thanks for answering that poll question. This is something we've been discussing for a potential update to the Juno. The Mac Connect and other devices do have beginner or advanced modes that segregate certain skills on the device. So this is really good to know as we're looking at what the future of Juno holds. All right, Paul, can you take us to the pricing slide?
Sure, let's go over that real quick. We've talked about it and it's been put in the chat. But for quota users, your price is $1,177. For non-quota users, it is $1,392. Just go to the product page. You can make your purchase that way, especially if you're going to get it for yourself.
All right, thank you so much, Paul. And thanks to everyone who joined us for today's webinar.